Teaching your employees a new skill can be challenging because it leads to frustration on both sides. You feel that you can't get good staff, and your employees feel that they're not doing a good job. Usually, we underestimate how long it takes to learn a new skill. For example, to learn to drive a car, it takes 2 years to move from a learner's license to a full one in New Zealand. Some business owners worry that they invest too much time in training their staff and then they leave. But I'd be more worried if you don't train your staff and they stay. I've been training both marketers and Kung Fu students for over a decade. So here's my 3-step process for training any new skill. Step 1, you do, they watch. This is where you demonstrate the skill as they watch. We want them to see how the skill is performed correctly. To speed up the process, have a checklist or document that you're following. This will bring structure to the learning process. I like to use the rule of 3. This means performing the process 3 times before moving on to the next step. I recommend videoing yourself performing the skill so they have a reference point they can go and watch at any time. This is especially useful if it's a skill that they won't perform every single day. Unfortunately, most training doesn't even get this far, but we're going to move on to step 2, you tell, they do. This is where they perform the skill, but you instruct them how to do it. Because the first time, they're naturally going to miss steps and make mistakes. This can also be achieved by them watching the video and performing the task as they watch. This means pausing the video to do each step, not watching the entire video and then trying to redo it all from memory. They can do this 3 times as well, but if they're not performing the skill correctly by the 3rd time, then you're going to need to repeat the process until they can get it correct. Once you've reached that level, you can move on to step 3, they do, you correct. This is where they perform the skill without you prompting them. You want to keep your mouth shut so they can start noticing and learning from their own mistakes. In the beginning, I suggest providing feedback after each step of the process. As they get more experience, you can hold that feedback until they've finished the entire process. The first 3 times will give you a good gauge on how they're progressing. If they need more training, then you'll need to continue working with them. Once they've achieved a satisfactory level, you can leave them to perform the skill alone. But you'll still want to provide feedback, starting with a high frequency and then moving that frequency further and further apart. This helps them understand the nuance of the skill set. Just because they've ticked the boxes in the beginning doesn't mean they can't develop a deeper understanding through more experience and feedback. If you use this 3-step training process with your team, you'll stop feeling so frustrated with the performance of your employees, and finally be able to delegate more work effectively because you've built a solid foundation.